We often keep our system smaller in starting phase of the projects, considering the cost of service and management efforts. But later with the time, the number of requests, data volume or processing efforts increase in the system, and the system tends to slow down or even break sometimes. In such cases, we have to scale our system to increase the capability. Let us see the different ways how we can do that. Let us consider a system. This can be called a system or server or box or computer or node or resource. It is the machine where our code executes. We can increase the CPU, memory or storage of the same system, which is called vertical scaling, also known as scale-up. Scaling up is taking our existing system and adding or replacing it with more powerful components. Whereas the other way is adding more such computers into the pool, which is called horizontal scaling or scale out. Scaling out takes the system and replicates it to work in parallel. Let us see each of it in depth with differences to understand it more. Vertical scaling doesn't require any code refactoring or configuration changes, as most of the hardware changes in the system are taken care of by operating system. But in horizontal scaling, we should do some changes. We may also be required to bring the load balancer to distribute the requests to different nodes. So the load balancer has its own cost and requires some maintenance efforts. The next challenge is data consistency. When multiple nodes are working in parallel in horizontal scale, there could be a problem of data becoming inconsistent due to delay in sync between the nodes. Whereas in vertical scaling, our data should be consistent as we have single system. When we have a single big system vertically scaled, we have the probability of single point of failure. But in horizontal scaled systems, we can route the request to other nodes in case of one node fail. In case of vertical scale, change of hardware in system may require some downtime, which requires planning and estimations. But in horizontal scaling, we can dynamically bring more nodes and scale the system in real time. When we want to scale more and more in vertical scaling, we may come to a point where we have a limitation on hardware in a single system. But in horizontal scaling, we can scale it as much as we want. Considering the scaling down situations when our traffic reduces, the horizontal scaled systems are easy to scale down as we can take out one of the node. But in vertical scale systems, that is not the case. Typically, cloud computing services like AWS, Azure, GCP, and others provide the option to scale your system both horizontally and vertically for most of their services. We can also dynamically scale up and down the services based on our traffic by configuring simple rules or jobs in the cloud. This makes cloud services flexible in terms of maintenance and cost. So, in practical, along with these comparisons, we have to consider the cost and requirements to choose the best fit for our use case. In fact, most of the systems are the hybrid solutions of horizontal and vertical scaling.